All right, today we're diving into a powerful myth, a parable, really, about that constant tug of war between perfect, unbending order and the wild, unpredictable fire of chaos. And we're going to hear this story from a unique perspective, from the being who lived it. This is my story.
Before the fire, before everything changed, this was all I knew. A reality of absolute, unchanging perfection. But as I was about to find out, that kind of perfection, well, it comes at a very, very high price.
Look, to get what happened to me, you have to understand what I was. I wasn't just some guard keeping order. I was order. A sentinel standing watch over a completely silent, frozen universe.
My official title? Arbiter of Stasis. My job description was pretty simple and absolute. Make sure nothing ever changed. Every law had to be upheld, every tiny movement stilled. I was the living embodiment of cold, hard logic.
So you had my home, Ginnungagap, a place of absolute order. Think perfect stillness, cold logic. But really, it was a lifeless prison. And then, on the other side of everything, you had its total opposite, Muspelheim, a blazing furnace of untamed creation, wild fire, and chaotic energy. It was the very spark of life itself. And, forces like that, they're bound to collide eventually.
And collide they did. My perfect, orderly, calculated existence, it was about to get completely upended by the one thing I was built to prevent. A force I just couldn't understand and definitely couldn't control.
The stillness I'd kept for eons, gone. Just like that. It's kind of funny when you think about it, isn't it? An eternity of perfect order completely undone by one little hiccup.
And it wasn't some grand army or a massive invasion. No, it was just a spark. One tiny little crimson ember from that wild furnace, Muspelheim, that somehow drifted across the void and found its way right into my perfect frozen world.
My first reaction, of course, was to crush it, freeze it, do what I always do, impose my will. But this little spark, it was different. It was pure chaos. It was defiance itself, and there was no way it was going to yield to me.
And here's the crazy part. It didn't just burn me or attack me. It fused with me. The spark didn't defeat me, it became a part of me, weaving its chaotic fire right into my very being. The arbiter of stasis was gone, shattered forever.
This merger, it cooked up something entirely new, something neither the void nor the furnace could have ever seen coming. It started a war inside of me, and that internal battle, well, it started to have some pretty devastating consequences on the outside.
All of a sudden, I was this walking contradiction. The cold, calculating logic of the ice was in a constant battle with the wild, untamed rage of the fire. Was I logic or was I rage? Every single thought, every impulse was a fight.
I mean, that was the question that just echoed in my head, constantly. How is this even possible? I shouldn't exist. I was a living violation of every natural law I'd spent my entire existence enforcing. A being of perfect stillness and, at the same time, constant violent change.
And the old gods, the Aesir, they couldn't handle it. In their perfectly structured world, I was a freak, a perversion. The truth is, they were terrified of what they couldn't understand, and there was just no box they could put me in. So their judgment was swift and simple: exile.
They really thought they were punishing me, containing some kind of monster. But what they actually did was give me the one thing I needed more than anything else: time and space to figure out what on earth I had become. Their rejection, it set me free.
So there I was, out in the solitude of exile, and free from their judgment, free from my old rigid purpose, everything started to click. I wasn't a perversion. I was something else, something necessary.
And then it hit me, my big epiphany. The frozen void I came from and the unchecked fire that invaded me, they were both just different flavors of destruction. Absolute order is a prison, absolute chaos is a wildfire, and I finally understood that true existence, it needs balance.
So, I let the old me go. I wasn't the arbiter of stasis anymore, but I wasn't just a mindless ghost of fire either. I became something new, the cosmic architect. My job wasn't to push one extreme over the other, but to nurture that delicate, vital balance between them both. You could say my new role is sort of like a cosmic gardener, First, I seek out the places that have grown old and stagnant, too rigid to change. Then, I use my fire, not for random destruction, but to carefully burn away those old systems that are choking out new life. And finally, in the fertile soil of those ashes, I help nurture the new things that can finally begin to grow.
Now, this whole cosmic story, it's not just about gods and voids and sparks. It's a map. It's a lesson for every single one of you out there, every aspiring wanderer trying to navigate your own path.
Because that war I told you about, the one between my fire and my ice, between chaos and order, that's a struggle that exists inside every one of us. We all feel that pull between wanting safety and stability and that undeniable burning need for change.
So, what's the big takeaway from all this? First, you have to realize that absolute stability, as comfortable as it feels, can actually become a prison that stops you from growing. Next, you got to understand that change, even disruption, is a necessary part of creating anything new. And maybe most importantly, true strength isn't about picking a side. It isn't choosing the ice or the fire. It's about learning to master both.
So that leaves us with one last big question. I want you to really look at your own life, your habits, your routines, your rigid ways of thinking, and ask yourself, what part of my world has become a frozen prison? What part of it has to burn down so that something new, something better, can finally be reborn from the ashes? The answer to that, that's where your real journey begins.